Yo, check it out. This one's about Keefe D, what he's going through right now with Tupac or more Shakur. He's going through the trial from over 30 years ago. They're using the words against him. Breaking news has happened. Keefe D is saying that they shouldn't be allowed to use the audio tape from him sitting in the interrogation room with the police. And the government is saying they should be able to use it because Keefe D is not arguing that they can't use the words that were said in the interrogation room. He just don't want the audio to be playing because he'd rather the jury read the transcript than hear the words in their own voice of Keefe D. Now, sit back. I want you to enjoy the ride because I'm going to tell you what's going through Keefe D's, well, someone that's going through what Keefe D's going through mine because I served 26 years in the federal prison, 5 years in 88 Supermax, Lum Park, Victorville, Atwater, Lewisburg, Allenwood, Coleman, Florida, Lee County. I could keep going. So I'm telling you from experience, sit back and enjoy the ride. Until then, hit the like button, hit the hype, hit the emoji, because that's the only way to get this video out. And this joint is dedicated to my man, Nearly On. All right? Hey, yeah, we're going to tell you about Tupac and this brother Keefe D, what they're going through right now, because I don't think y'all understand how serious this is and what's going on. So let me play this video so y'all could be caught up to date on what's going on with this, all right?
We're getting closer to a trial nearly 3 decades in the making. Duane Davis, the man accused of orchestrating the killing of Tupac Shakur, was in court again today.
Well, this time, his defense attorney was trying to get 2 pieces of evidence thrown out. Fox 5's Victoria Saha joining us in studio to break down the latest in court today.
Both sides are racing against the clock as they prepare for this trial. Today, the defense attorney asked the judge to throw out 2 pieces of evidence, but the judge sided with prosecutors, and Davis and his son didn't hold in their frustration. With the trial now 2 weeks away, Duane Davis was back in court Tuesday. His attorney argued that a 2008 recording Davis gave to police should not be used in court.
These were law enforcement officers. They were in a room having a conversation with my client, to which my client did not know was being recorded. There's no evidence to that.
The state pushed back.
There is zero legal basis to ever exclude the 2008 recording. And that's what their basis of their motion is only to the recording itself, not to the fact of what he said.
The motion is denied if they don't find that there is a law that allows suppression of this recording.
As Judge Carly Kearney made her ruling, Davis's son, sitting right behind me, reacted. You can see defense attorney Samth telling him to be quiet. During a private sidebar with white noise over the microphones, the court bailiff warned the son to not speak out again, and Davis also tried to make gestures at him. A second motion was made to dismiss testimony from a witness that could be considered hearsay.
I want everyone who's going to get up there have the ability to say what they're going to say. I go after it, but not on something like this, where I have to go after and chase rabbits through the snow, trying to figure out how I'm going to tell this jury why you can't believe that snitch itself on the stand.
Prosecutors argued the testimony would give context to the possible gang feud surrounding the case.
They're in the middle of a months-long gang war. It doesn't start with the killing of Mr. Shakur. They had been at war before, and they had that war intensified as a result of the murder of Tupac Shakur.
The judge will allow that testimony in court. We are now 2 weeks away from the trial, and there is one more hearing to finalize everything. There will also be a witness list submitted. However, it's still unclear if Davis will take the stand.
Now, the trial will start on August 10th and should last at least 4 weeks. We have covered this case extensively as it's moved.
So that's where we at, Rob. That's where we at right now. So now we're going to get into how we going to call this? We're going to call this the most dangerous witness, right? Let me fix my hat, right? The most dangerous witness right now is Keefe D himself versus Keefe D. Now, we're gonna take ourselves into Keefe D's cell. Imagine sitting inside a cell. Your trial is getting closer. Your freedom is hanging by a thread. And the most dangerous witness against you ain't a snitch. It ain't your enemy. It ain't somebody from your old crew. The most dangerous witness has your face, your voice, your memories, and your name attached to it. Now, class, sit back and listen to this. All right, let's go. Because Keefe D may be walking into murder trial, right? Fighting an older version of himself. A version that sat in front of cameras. A version that spoke to investigators. A version that put the story in a book. A version of himself that may have believed the past was already buried. But the past don't always stay buried. Sometimes the past gets organized. Sometimes the past gets labeled. Sometimes it gets entered into evidence. And sometimes it sits on the television screen. While 12 strangers study your face. Class is officially in session. Sit back and let me give you the jewel to that. You can walk away from a conversation, but you cannot always walk away from the recording. And that's the problem that Keefe D is having right now. Now, the night before your own voice plays, this is what's going on with someone in Keefe D's situation sitting in a cell the night before he has to go to court and they get ready to play that audio tape. I'm gonna tell you how I felt. Let me take you somewhere the news cameras cannot go. Inside that cell, late at night, when the television is off, when the tear gets quiet, when the legal mail is sitting beside my bed, when a man knows his trial is coming, I cannot tell you exactly what Keefe D is thinking. I'm not inside that man's head or profess to be. But I served 26 years in federal prison and I know what waiting does to a man. Waiting makes 5 minutes feel like an hour. Waiting makes you replay conversations. Waiting makes you question details. What did I say? How did I say it? What did I leave out? What did I add? Did my story stay the same? Did I contradict myself? Which recording are they bringing into the court? Which chapter are they reading from my book? Which sentence will a prosecutor stop on? Which expression will the jury see on my face? That's a different kind of pressure because you cannot intimidate your own voice. You cannot cross-examine yesterday. You cannot call your younger self and say, slow down, son. Stop talking. Do not put that in a book. Do not repeat that story. That door is already closed. Now you're left fighting the ego. And this is the best part, is when I give the class the jewel. Regret is realizing today that yesterday's mouth created tomorrow's cage. And that's where Keefe D lie now, within the cage that his mouth created. But we ride. All right, we ride. Let's ride. Let's ride. Now, the new blow before trial. Keefe D scheduled to go to trial like August 8th. So now he gets a blow to the trial. Here's the part we need, right? Not a long history lesson, not another documentary about 1996. The new pressure is simple. A Nevada judge ruled that prosecutors may use Keefe D's recorded 2008 police interview at his upcoming trial. That's serious. The trial is scheduled to begin August 10th, not the 8th, 2026. Prosecutors allege he orchestrated the retaliatory shooting that unalive Tupac Amor Shakur. That's history playing out right now that y'all taking for granted. Keefe D has pled not guilty, and the government still has to prove its case. But understand what just happened. The defense tried to keep that police interview away from the jury where Keefe D sat down and told everything. He's not saying what he said was a lie or he didn't say it. But what he's doing is saying, you can't use it. Not the audio. Just use my words. Let me defend my words and change my words so I can explain what I meant. That I was just trying to monetize off of $2 because they kept paying me to come on these platforms. Now, like I said, the defense tried to keep the police interview out the jury, right? The defense argued that the conversation came with protection. That's what his lawyer's saying that that conversation was protected, they wasn't supposed to be able to use it in the court of law. That's supposed to remain confidential, his lawyer said. That's not supposed to become a weapon against him. But now let's talk about the judge. The judge ruled that the recording may be used. That means the courtroom may hear him speaking for himself, whether he wants to get on the stand or not. You see my hat? That's the two Keefe D's fighting against each other, and Tupac Amor Shakur is looking on like they got you. But Tupac didn't want this to be settled in a court of law. You can say what you want to say. I'm just giving the real to Tupac I know. The Tupac I know didn't want this settled in a court of law. But that's where it's at. I'm giving you the real from experience from the streets where I ran with Tupac. I know Tupac. Got pictures with Tupac in my club, Club 2000. Pictures with Tupac in Mecca Audio. I just don't say nothing because I don't need to use no one else's name in order to spread my message. Now, but the judge ruled that the recording may be used, right? That means the courtroom may hear him speaking for himself. Not somebody interpreting him, not somebody remembering what he said. His own voice, his own timing, his own details, his own tone. And an unaliving trial. Tone can become evidence in the minds of jurors. Confidence can sound like knowledge. Detail can sound like participation. Repetition can sound like the truth. How many times did he repeat these stories and stayed on script? Even when the defense says the story was exaggerated, even when the defense says the story was sold for attention, even when the defense says the public version was only entertainment, he was entertaining the people for what they wanted to hear. The jury will still have to decide. Was this a man confessing, or was this a man performing? The ruling, the current August 10th trial date were reported by the Associated Press. So the trial is starting on August 10th, right? So let me get into the jewel before August 10th, all right? Once your words enter a courtroom, you lose control over what 12 strangers believe they meant. Now, we're gonna ride. This gonna be a nice ride. Sit back, enjoy it. Let's go. Now we're gonna talk about Keefe D's book. The book may become a witness of its own. The book may become a witness of its own. But class, it gets even heavier than that. Because the interview is not standing alone. His memoir is coming into the courtroom too. The book is called Compton Street Legend. The defense tried to keep that book away from the jury. The judge ruled that may be used too. Prosecutors say the book is central to their case. They say Keefe D publicly adopted the story. They point to accounts placing him inside the Cadillac. They point to descriptions involving the gun. They point to details surrounding the shooting. The defense says the book was fictionalized, embellished, packaged, built to make money, and that was it. But to sell a street legend? And that right there is where this story becomes deeper than Tupac. Because what happened when the character you sold becomes the defendant you have to defend? What happens when street credibility becomes courtroom liability? What happens when a story makes you important on Monday and makes you look involved on Tuesday? What happens when the same words that made people click make a prosecutor smile? Hey, I got one. The judge ruled the memoir admissible after finding that Davis had publicly adopted its account as his own. Could you believe that? Keefe D adopted the book as his own, said everything in it is true, I would never lie. And now he have to say, I was lying, I was fictionalizing. And the jewel in that is, never build a portfolio or profitable image that your freedom cannot afford. And now we're gonna ride into the two Keefe Ds. Let's ride into the two Keefe Ds. Cash App on the screen, make sure you hit the icon and say it was created 2020. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that crap. Let's keep it moving, all right? Now, this trial may come down to two different men. Keefe D, the storyteller, and Keefe D, the defendant. The storyteller gave interviews. The storyteller helped sell a book. The storyteller spoke with authority. The storyteller became connected to one of the biggest mysteries in hip-hop history. But the defendant now has to explain the storyteller. The defendant may say, that was exaggerated, that was entertainment, that was protected, that was not, literal confession. That was somebody else's writing. That was a story being sold. But the prosecution still stand up and ask, why did the story keep placing you there, Keefe D? Why did you keep repeating the details, the exact details? Why did you accept the identity of the Keefe D that unalived Tupac or Shakur? Why did you call that account truthful? Why did you wait until unaliving charges arrived to call it fiction? And class, that is the dangerous courtroom conflict. I had to get a little emotional on that, right? Because the jury is not only deciding what happened in 1996, they're deciding what Keefe D they believe in 2026. Which one are they gonna believe is what their biggest dilemma is right now. The man who spoke when there was no indictment and confessed to the murder, or the man defending himself after the indictment arrived? Jury, I rest my case. That's how they're gonna come. And you heard how Keefe D's lawyer came. They got their excuse too. But we're gonna get a jewel. Remember, we give you both sides. I know we're gonna have rat bastards and flip-flop wearing public trolls that wanna say, oh, he said this, he said that. Dog, the case is in your face. Open your eyes and stop looking and criticize. And life will materialize so much better to you if you get the hate out your heart and just listen to the jewels of Unique Mecca Audio. Now, let's sit back round. Now, we're gonna talk about the case without the old crew. Cause the old crew, they long gone round. No disrespect, rest in peace to them, because I ain't gonna front. I love this kid, Orlando Anderson, the way he went out. And y'all gonna hate me for it, but this is a gangster channel and that's what it is. Orlando Anderson went out like a straight G. You live by the street, you die by the street, and you come through with how you die. That's why I respect the young man I saw the other day. Don't agree with these men. Let me say that for the record, for the rat bastards and flip-flop wearing in public mother effing trolls. I don't agree with them where I'm at today, but when I was their age and I was connected and dedicated to the street, whatever came with it, came with it. That's why I got to give respect, and a lot of y'all gonna be mad to Davion Murphy. Rest in peace to Julio Fulio and anyone else who lost their life. But I'm just explaining to y'all as the professor, the two sides. When you connected to the street, you don't care what the outcome is because you already picked your destination, and your destination is to eliminate your target. And whatever comes with that, whether it's life or death or prison or wheelchair, you accept that. And that's why I told the youth, don't go to the street, because I don't want you to have this mentality where you're giving a shout out to Davion Murphy. Come on, man. But like I said, we're going to talk about the case without the old crew. Now, look at the loneliness of this position, right? The other men prosecutors associate with the Cadillac, they all dead. Orlando Anderson is dead. Terrence Brown is dead. DeAndre Smith, he's also deceased. Rest in peace to those three good brothers. Because the same way you might not like those brothers, their family and their friends and their hood, their surroundings look up to them. So the love or hate is in the heart of the beholder. Now, Tupac is deceased. Keefe D is alive. And being the last man alive does not always make you lucky. Sometimes it makes you the only man left to answer. The only man left to explain, the only man left to be charged, the only man left to watch the government reconstruct a night you tried to forget. The dead cannot correct the story. The dead cannot contradict the story. The dead cannot take the stand. The dead cannot say, that's not what happened. Or, that is exactly what happened. So prosecutors may build their case around the one voice that remains, Keefe D. And that is the cold part. A man may spend years believing he survived everybody else, then discover he only survived long enough to face the consequences alone. He outlived Orlando Anderson. He outlived DeAndre Smith. He outlived Terrence Brown. And he feels like he won. But he discovered he only survived long enough to face the consequences alone. So who really won? Put that in the comments. Who really won? Keefe D for still being alive to fight this charge? Or those brothers for not being here to escape the charges? Now, let's hit the jewel on that. I know this get a little deep. Class, this is gonna run a little late, so sit back and, put your seatbelt on, because we riding. Being the last man standing can mean being the first man left without cover. Keefe D is left standing there with no cover in the courtroom. Tupac is looking down. Justice is being served. But when I say that, I gotta say, I know this is not the justice that Tupac wanted. You know it, and you know Tupac. But that's where his mentality was at. That's why we told the youngins that's not the mentality to have. You ain't trying to be a part of the street, and you ain't trying to have that mentality, and we ain't trying to have you there. Now, let's talk about street code meets the court code. I give y'all all kinds of jewels here. That's why the Cash App on the screen. Street code meets court code. Class, here's where young people get confused. Street code and court code are not the same language. On the street, a detailed story may build reputation. A strong voice may build respect. Saying you were present may build credibility. Knowing hidden details may make people believe you were important. But inside a courtroom, Mr. Keefe D, every detail gets examined. Every timeline gets measured. Every contradiction gets highlighted. Every public statement gets compared. Every interview becomes a possibility. Every page becomes an exhibit. Every boast becomes a question. The streets may reward the person who sounds closest to the action. The courtroom may punish him for the exact same reason. The streets may say, he knows too damn much. The prosecutors may say, exactly. The streets may say, he was there. The defense may have to say, no, he was only telling stories. He was just making it up, embellished, and trying to monetize because they gave court number on the different TVs. That's what happens when street theater collides with legal reality. One audience applauds the performance. Another audience deliberates over your freedom. Now, I know this is deep. And I want to thank y'all for coming and thank y'all for staying after class. We had 26 minutes, but I'm riding, all right? Never confuse applause with protection. The crowd disappears when the jury walks in. Now, because we like to ride. The government does not need you to pull the trigger. They don't need Keefe D to pull the trigger. Let's get this straight. I'm giving y'all a whole sermon today. Here's another lesson, right? Here's another lesson that the young people miss. The prosecution does not have to prove Keefe D personally fired the shots. Their allegation is that he helped organize the retaliation, that he participated in the plan, that he supplied the weapon, that he played leadership role. And you get points for that under the guidelines when it's time to be sentenced. Those allegations remain unproven unless a jury accepts them. But understand the principle. A man can receive a murder conviction without being the shooter. So you young people think you slick sending somebody else to do it? He can be held responsible for the plan, the setup, the weapon, the transportation, the encouragement, the agreement. That's why I keep telling you, class, stop believing that standing one step away from the trigger keeps you safe. The law can reach backwards. It reached over 30 years to grab Keefe D. The law can reach sideways. The law can conduct. The law can connect words. The law can connect preparation. How you plan to carry out this case that you put in the book and in your interview. The streets say, I did not pull the trigger. The courtroom asks, what role did you play? Two completely different questions. Davis, a murder charge. Wow. Keefe D is facing a murder charge, alleging that he acted to promote and further to assist the gang activity that unalived Tupac Shakur. And he is now pleading not guilty, fighting for his life against his own very words. Now, standing beside a deadly decision bring the same destination as making it yourself, right? Because we ride. The defense still has a real argument. Now we're gonna go to Keefe D's argument, because I know the rat bastard is there. He said what the defense gonna say. Well, sit back, shut the F up, and don't touch nothing. All right? Now, class, we stay fair over here at Unique Mecca Audio. We do not convict anybody on YouTube. We don't turn allegations into facts. Keefe D is pled not guilty. The prosecution carries the burden, and the defense still has serious questions to raise. Where is the murder weapon? It's what the defense say. Where's the Cadillac? Where's the fresh physical evidence? Where's the living participant who can confirm the complete story. How much of this case depends on statements? How much depends on an old book? How much was exaggerated? How much was edited? How much was repeated from somebody else? How much was said to sell a story? And can the government prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a man's public words describe actual criminal participation? Or are they attempting to turn irresponsible storytelling into a murder sentence? Those are legitimate trial questions that Keefe D's lawyers have to ask. A loud statement is not automatically true. A public statement, or even published, is not automatically accurate. A man can lie to make himself bigger. A man can exaggerate for relevance. A man can sell fiction as reality. The painful irony is this: even a fake street story can create a real legal problem, which is what we have right now today. Now, the jewel in that, a lie told for attention can still place your real freedom in danger. And don't forget what we doing? We ride. Now, we're gonna talk about the jury's hidden battle, right? Think about the jury walking into this case. They know Tupac, they've seen his face, they've heard his music, they heard, theories. They watch documentaries on YouTube themselves. They've even seen those little clips on the shorts. They heard names. They may already believe they understand the story. The defense asks for the jury to be fully sequestered. That means to ask them questions like, have you heard about the trial? How much you know about the trial? How much do you feel about the trial? You think you can handle yourself, bias on the trial and not pick a side? The judge denied full sequestration. That means that his ass in a little trouble because he can't use those peremptory strikes as they call them, which is what kicks somebody off if you don't like them. Say, now he guilty of sin. You know what I mean? Now you can't kick him off. Protective measures will still be used. But this case has been living in public for nearly 30 years. So you tell me where they're gonna find someone that don't know nothing about this case. That creates another battlefield. Can jurors separate what they heard online from what gets proven inside the courtroom? Can they forget the documentaries? Can they forget the conspiracy theories? Can they forget Tupac, the icon, and evaluate Tupac, the victim in a criminal case? Can they hear Keefe D's words without assuming every word is true? Can they hear the defense without assuming every explanation is an excuse? That jury room is going to carry 3 decades of noise, and both sides will be fighting to control what that noise means. The judge rejected full sequestration while approving more limited measures intended to protect jurors from the publicity. Now, let's get to the jewel in this, right? In a famous case, the first trial often happens in public. The real challenge is finding jurors who you can begin again that don't know nothing about it. Now, we're gonna talk about Tupac's fame trap. Let's talk about the fame trap for both of these men. Let us deal with the attention, right? Because attention can become addictive, especially when a man feels forgotten. The world moves on. New artists come out, new stories come, new street figures become famous. Then somebody asks you about the biggest story of your life. The camera turns on. People lean in closer. The views rise. They're going up by the thousands for Keefe D when he told these stories. The invitation comes. Your name becomes relevant again. Now every interviewer wants another deal. Every documentary wants something deeper from you, so you dig deeper in your mind of creativity. Every audience wants something more shocking, so the story grows. The description gets sharper, the memory gets cleaner, the speaker becomes more confident. And before long, a man may no longer know where memory ends and the performance begins. That's not he saying Keefe D live, right? It's not we saying Keefe D live. Let's get that straight, right? Because I met his son and I respect his son. Big shout out to his son, little Keefe D. You know what I mean? Until we find out what happened here when we really get into this ding. This is not me saying he confessed. This is the psychological danger of monetizing a serious story. That means when y'all jumping on these platforms and saying anything you want to say, know that now all they're doing is go back on old tapes. You see, they went back 30 years and grabbed this man. The audience rewards certainty. The courtroom punishes inconsistency. The camera wants drama. The jury wants the truth. And a man can get trapped between the two. Never let the need to be remembered make you say something that keeps you from ever coming home. And that's what we have going on right now. Because we ride. The interview he thought was protected. Let's talk about the interview that Keefe D thought was protected. Now let us return to that police interview, because this is where trust becomes dangerous. The defense says Keefe D spoke under assurances that they wasn't going to charge him and nothing could be used against him. That's the information was protected, they said. That the conversation would not be used against him. The prosecution says his later public statement changed the situation by him going on these interviews, also speaking on it was no more something that was private and confidential because you made it public yourself, Keefe D. This position is essentially, you cannot publicly sell the same story, then demand that the courtroom treat it as private. Think about what I just said. You cannot publicly sell the same story, then demand that the courtroom treat it as private. Think about that, class. A man may believe the government promised him protection, so he speaks. Years later, he repeats the story publicly. Then a judge rules that the interview can come into court. Now the question becomes, did he lose protection? Did he understand an agreement? Did the government overreach? Or did he destroy his own defense by continuing to speak? Those are legal questions for the court, but the street lesson is immediate. Never assume an old conversation is dead. Never assume a promise follows you forever. Never assume repeating protected information publicly has no cost. And never discuss serious criminal allegations because you believe time has made you untouchable. All right? All right, just want to throw a little thing in there, wake you up a little bit. Now, let's get to the juice. Time does not make dangerous words harmless. Sometimes it only gives the government time to organize them. Right? Now we talk about the cell. How can we ride? We ride. The cell gets smaller as the trial gets closer. This is how my cell and men that was in my situation felt as the trial got closer towards a sentence that could take your freedom for the rest of your life. Right? We know this about Tupac Shakur's trial, but right now we're gonna take you inside the mind of Keefe D. All right? Don't say I didn't take you there because we are there. Now, The cell gets smaller as the trial gets closer. August 10th gets closer. The cell does not change size, but mentally, those walls can start moving inwards. A man wakes up thinking about jury selection. He eats thinking about opening statements. He walks to tears thinking about recordings. He lies down thinking about the book they're gonna use against him. He may speak to his lawyer, then replay the conversation after the call ends. Did the lawyer sound confident? Did the lawyer sound worried? Why did he pause like that? Why did he say, we will see? Why did he say, prepare yourself? Did that mean prepare myself to go down on the sinking ship? That's what confinement does. It makes your mind run wild. It makes a man study tones. It makes a man search faces. It makes a man hear fear inside ordinary words. Outside, people count down to a trial like excitement. They can't wait till the trial comes. But on the inside, where Keefe D is at right now, inside, a defendant may count down like a man standing inside of a cliff. Because trial is not another interview. Trial is not another documentary. Trial is not another viral clip. At the end of this performance, a door may open or it may close for the rest of your life, just so you understand. All right? Now, the jewel in that. Yeah, I like to get my little bell. You know what I mean? Let's get the little bell going. Let's get the bell going. Now, court dates look like calendar entries, right? Like you're at a restaurant outside. Inside the cell, they can feel like approaching storms, right? Now, what happened when they press play and Keefe D have to listen to the joint that's going on? Somebody let me know what happens when they press play. Picture the courtroom. The jury seated, the judges watching. Keefe D believe his attorney. The prosecutor introduces the recording. The room gets quiet. Then his younger voice begins speaking over the speakers. Everybody watches the defendant, not only the screen. Him, Keefe D, sitting there on Vlad TV, sitting there on all the dialogue on the biggest platforms, fighting for his life, trying to defend the very words that came out of his mouth that he chose to release, so you can't blame those men's platforms. Now, him, Keefe D, is fighting himself. Does he look down while the screen is playing? Does he whisper to his lawyer? Does he shake his head? Does he show emotion? Does he appear calm? Does the jury mistake nervousness for guilt? Does the jury mistake confidence for coldness? Does the defense explain the context before the damage lands? Or does the recording become the voice of the entire trial? This is why your own words can be more dangerous than another witness. A witness can be attacked. A witness can be exposed. A witness can forget something. A witness can contradict him or herself. But when the witness is a recording of your own voice, the defense has to explain you to the jury. And that is a hard position, because the prosecution may not have to call you as a liar. He may only have to ask which version was telling the truth. That was deep. When you create two versions of yourself, the jury gets to choose which one controls your future. Right? Now, we ride. See, we ride. We well over class. Let's relax, man. Get your popcorn on. Matter of fact, get the intro, get the popcorn. All right, I ain't gonna hold you up. Let's finish the class. All right. Now, class, young people love the cameras. We know that. We see that on social media. They tell the camera everything. Where they are, who they knew, what they saw, what they did, what somebody else saw or did. Who was afraid? They telling that. Who carried what? Who drove what? Who gave the order? They call it content. The prosecutor calls it discovery. They call it storytelling. The detective calls it a lead. They call it building a brand. The government calls it authentication. The camera does not love you. The microphone does not respect you even. The internet does not protect you. It records, it stores, it copies, it waits. And long after the audience gets bored and move on to the next story, the evidence may still be sitting there. Now, the cameras is not your friend, your lawyer, or your co-defendant. It only remembers what were foolish enough that you gave it. Now, let's ride into Tupac. It's not the only story. I'm gonna show you how Tupac not the only story. It's really 2-3 videos in one, but I'm just chilling. All right, let's go. This is bigger than Tupac, bigger than Keefe D, bigger than Death Row, bigger than old East Coast and West Coast history. The real story is how men destroy themselves trying to control their legend. They survived the incident, because Keefe D did survive the incident. Then they survived the investigation. They survived the first wave of attention. Then ego starts whispering. Tell them what really happened. Show them you were important. Make sure history remembers your name. Do the interview, write the book, tell the story one more time. But ego never tells you about the courtroom. Ego never tells you about the holding cell. Ego never tells you about the jury instruction. Ego never tells you about life without parole. Ego only tells you how powerful you would look today. It hides what the image may cost tomorrow. Ego shows you the spotlight, but hides the handcuffs waiting behind the spotlights. Now, could we ride? Damn, I've been on here long. I gotta shorten these up. My bad, class. The man who could not leave the story alone. That's Keefe D. He just couldn't leave that daggone story alone. There are some stories a man has to leave alone, not because he's scared, because he's wise. Not every truth belongs on a podcast. Not every memory belongs in a book. Not every rumor needs your confirmation. Not every camera deserves your face. Not every interviewer deserves your past. Not every check is worth accepting. Not every moment or relevance is worth permanent attention from law enforcement. Some men believe silence makes them look weak, but disciplined silence can be strength. Now, self-control can be strength. Refusing to perform can be strength. Walking away from attention can be strength. And class, I am not teaching anybody how to escape accountability. I am teaching people not to create destruction in the first place. Do not participate in deadly decisions. Do not build your identity around criminal history. Do not turn your tragedy into entertainment. Do not let ego make you celebrate conduct that destroys families. Tupac lost his life. His family lost a son. Hip hop lost an artist. And nearly 30 years later, another family may be preparing to lose a man to the prison system. Now, when violence happens, the moment ends quickly, but the families can serve the consequences for generations. Now, I'm gonna get a Unique Mecca Audio verdict, then I'm out of here, right? We gotta ride into that, then I'm definitely out of here. This might be an hour. Here's my verdict. Not the legal verdict that belongs to the jury. My life verdict. Keefe D may beat the case. Keefe D may be convicted. The defense may create reasonable doubt. The prosecution may convince the jury. We just don't know yet. But one fact is already clear. His only words helped place him in the courtroom. His own words is what helped place him in the courtroom. Whether those words were true, exaggerated, protected, fictionalized, or sold for attention, they became valuable to the government. That's the warning. A man can survive 30 years of suspicion, then lose his freedom because he could not stop telling the story. He cannot be fighting a surprise witness. He may be fighting a younger man with his exact same voice. And there's no tougher opponent than the version of yourself who made decisions you can no longer undo. Now, class is dismissed. No, class, it's still in session. I ain't done yet. Because I need your verdict in the comments. Did Keefe D publicly confess to you? Or did he sell a story that became bigger than the truth? Put the verdict in the comments, and remember, the streets are real, the fame is real, the attention is real, the prison is realer. Alright? Now, your past cannot testify against you until your present keeps giving it a microphone. Now, I'm gonna tell you why I do what I do, so I'm gonna play this real quick. Check out I'm gonna play the young lady first, right? I'm gonna play the young lady first. Let's get her first.
Hi, I watch Unique Mecca's YouTube, and it's amazing. Like, his whole story is so nostalgic. It's so like Harlem. It's so like 1980s. It's so 1999. I've been watching his channel for about 2 years, and it's very informative and it's real. You know, you don't really get the real deal from everybody, but with him, you definitely gonna get the whole real story. This is a Harlem legend, kingpin, legendary. I'm so happy to just even meet him and be in his presence. Like, his channel is very informal, and if you subscribe, you're gonna be just like me, a fan.
All right.
Hey, what's going on, man? Murder Mook, Harlem, you know what it is, man. I just want to express how much gratitude I got for Unique, you know what I mean? I was telling him a story, telling him how I felt about, you know, if anything was to go wrong with my career, rap-wise, you know, if, you know, shit be slow, and I got so many opportunities to be able to do the wrong shit. When I watch Unique Mecca Audio, I feel it, and I like to my soul, and that's keeping me farthest away from doing anything criminal. Anything criminal. He made me think straight, honestly. Made me think straight, because I've been watching him for about a year, like a year now, maybe, and it just took my mind way off of that, From a year ago, it got rough. For a year ago,
Yeah.
and from watching this man, I just felt like, you saved me. You saved me. And I just want to show my gratitude, and I want to say thank you, man. Unique Mecca Audio, anything you need, brother, from me.
All right.
Anything you need, man.
All right.
I just want to give a shout out to Unique Mecca Audio. He is so dope. I had the experience of actually meeting him in person. I've been a fan for 2 years, watching his story and watching his videos on YouTube. He is the bomb.com. Harlem, legendary, kingpin, real, official. As soon as I sat down by him, I knew like it was like a different energy, a different vibe. But then once I hear his voice, I'm like, oh my God, is that him? I'm all fanned out. Like, you know, it was such an experience getting the chance to meet him and, you know, being a fan of his YouTube channel and just following him for the last 2 years and knowing his story and seeing his interviews. And I support him 1000%. And I'm subscribed to his YouTube. You should go and subscribe as well. Amazing, amazing. I'm like, oh my God, is that him? I'm all fanned out. Like, you know, it was such an experience getting the chance to meet him and, you know, being a fan of his YouTube channel and just following him for the last 2 years and knowing his story and seeing his interviews. And I support him 1000%. And I'm subscribed to his YouTube. You should go and subscribe as well. Amazing, amazing. History, how hard it is to be in jail, the right and wrong moves to make when you outside, how one wrong move will cost you a whole lot, to be better, to do better, a lot of stuff. You'll get a lot of stuff from his channel, you know? It's very informal, and, you know, whatever that means to you, you'll definitely take a piece with you. Like, this is a good YouTube channel, honestly.
So who's going where they can find you?
Okay, I'm Cora. You can find me at Instagram on Why Hate on Her, and yeah.
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops. Mecca Audio.
Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio. And we gon' do it like we gon' do it like we keep it moving like we gotta do it like
Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was wine. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a raw in Uptown. They be horn Uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in Uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours, so we can give back to the
cheers, cheers.